I've been in ministry 50 plus years. At the very outset, though, I would like to say that I've met with a number of priests who are very gentle, sensitive, decent gentlemen. And I have worked with them and been inspired and influenced by them. But these are few. In my experience in ministry, which has been mostly in villages, I have encountered clericalism and clerical attitudes in many different ways. Let me begin with some of my encounters with bishops. Several years ago, I was in a big city. We were in the jurisdiction of a big parish which had about 6 priests. I was a young sister then. We were expected to come for the distribution of communion on Sundays. There were several masses starting from 6 right up to 10:30 in the morning. We had to walk a distance of about 10 minutes to reach the church. Then there were 2 masses in the evening. It was rather heavy for us because we were all in active ministry in school, in the social center. Several of us were studying, and Sunday was the only free day. And yet it was all taken up with this distribution of communion. What incensed us was we saw that the priests, there was only one priest celebrating Mass, all the others were in their rooms watching TV. So when we had an opportunity, when the bishop visited, we told him about our difficulty. He said, well, he'll look into it. When he was leaving, 3 of us accompanied him. And as we were reaching him up to the gate, he turned around and told us, he said, sisters, you know, there was a time when women were not allowed to touch the sacred species. Now you are allowed. And you women are complaining. On another occasion, it was our feast, 15th of September, Our Lady of Sorrows, and we had a bishop to celebrate the Mass for us, and I was assigned to give the introduction. In my introduction, what I said in a very few words, was that I saw Mary as a strong woman. And that was the Mary who inspired me. She suffered and stood strong in her suffering. After Mass, I was called by the bishop, and he told me that what I said was not theologically correct. And I wondered, if I had said, Mary said yes, perhaps that would have been theologically correct. What was theologically not okay in saying that I was inspired by Mary, the mother of Jesus, who I saw as a strong woman. And the last encounter with the bishop, which was just about 3 years ago, mind you, in this century, 21st century, I was in a village, and the bishop was on a so-called pastoral visit. He wanted to meet, you know, the people in the ministries. In the villages, we run hostels. And this was a middle school hostel. We had some 40-50 girls, age between 9 to about 12-13, middle school. Well, we called them to meet the bishop, and they filed past him, and as they were coming, he put out his hand, and very naturally they shook his hand. After it was over, he sent for the sister who was in charge of the hostel, and he told her, he said, sister, you have to teach your children that when they greet a bishop, they should kiss his ring. Let me come to one of the thorniest issues, particularly for us in the village ministries, the constant, ever-present threat of the Mass being withdrawn if we don't toe the line, or if for any reason the priest is dissatisfied or upset with us. It happens in 2 ways. One, I would call blackmail or a punishment, and 2, a very lackadaisical attitude on the part of the priest. He'll come if he feels like, or he'll sleep on, or sometimes suddenly disappear. In my experience of village work, we did everything. We ran the boarding, we got the funds, we attended to all the needs of the villagers. In addition, we had a health center. We used to have emergencies. We would take the patients to the hospital very often in the night. We drove. We had a vehicle. We would drive ourselves. We sisters would go alone. We did just about everything. But when it came to the Mass, there we were stuck and we were dependent. Having to be dependent on an outside resource, or I would say outside agency, for the sacraments, puts us religious women permanently in a very vulnerable situation. Another point is homily abuse. When I say homily abuse, I mean when that sacred space in the liturgy is used to control, to put us down, to talk down to us, to say anything, to settle scores. I call this hijacking the homily. Another case comes to my mind, interference in the way we sisters dress, our dress codes. In the 90s, when we faced those attacks from political parties, when sisters were raped, many of us started wearing lay clothes, especially when we were outside. One of our sisters was told by the priest, he says, when we were going for the village mass, don't enter my jeep if you are dressed like that. She was in lay clothes. He insisted that she comes in that she be dressed in the habit. Seminarians are introduced very early in their seminary formation to the clerical culture. Many seminaries have sisters running the kitchen, the laundry, the housekeeping services. And these young men in formation see sisters in positions of servitude from a very early age. In this kind of atmosphere in a seminary, how can we expect that when they are ordained, they will treat women with respect? Sisters who come from a very patriarchal society in some parts of the country find it very difficult to say no, and that's where all the abuse begins. When we say clericalism, we are also part of this whole clerical attitude. It's a collusion, like, so to say, and it affects both ways. And I feel the church is losing a lot. The potential of women, the giftedness that is there in women is not being realized. And it's a loss for society, for the church. And when women's talents are not recognized, everyone suffers. So if we need to move ahead, if we need a church that will take us ahead, we need both men and women, the giftedness of both. So we still have a long way to go, and I hope we are moving in that direction.